They say every voice has a story, but in Africa, every story has a fire. Welcome to Legend by the Fire African Folktale, where old truths meet modern hearts. Tonight, I'll tell you about the girl who spoke too loudly, a story they tried to silence, but couldn't. I am Amara, and if you've lived in Lagos long enough, you'll know that this city can make you shrink if you let it. Lagos doesn't wait for you to find your voice. You either speak, or you get swallowed by the noise. But for some of us, speaking came naturally. For Nkem, it came to naturally. I met Nkem 4 years ago when I joined a small PR firm in Lekki. I was 21, fresh out of Unilag, still figuring out how to make rent and not cry in traffic. Nkem was the firm's newest recruit to a bold, light-skinned girl with short natural curls, gold hoop earrings, and a voice that could fill a room without a microphone. She had this habit of saying what everyone else was afraid to say. If the boss was being unreasonable, Nkem said it. If a client was rude, she said it. She didn't whisper behind people's backs, she faced them head on. And in a world where women are expected to smile and agree, that made her dangerous. Lagos is not kind to women like Nkem. When a woman talks too much, they say she's too loud. When she stands her ground, they say she's too proud. When she tells the truth, they call her arrogant. I remember one afternoon at work, during a team meeting, when our boss Mr. Tade presented a campaign idea that was, honestly, trash. It was one of those copy-paste ideas from abroad that didn't fit Nigerian culture at all. Everyone nodded like obedient chickens, but Nkem raised her hand. "Sir," she said, leaning forward with her bright red nails tapping the table. "This concept doesn't reflect our audience. Nigerians don't respond to fake perfection, they respond to story." The room went silent. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. Mr. Tade smiled. That tight smile bosses use when they're trying not to show anger. "Thank you, Miss Nkem," he said. "But maybe keep your suggestions for your level." Nkem didn't flinch. She smiled back and said, with respect, "Sir, ideas don't have levels." And just like that, you could feel the air shift. That was the first time I realized Lagos wasn't ready for her. Over the next few months, people began to label her. Some called her that feminist girl. Others said she was unmarriageable. The men in the office avoided her like a ticking bomb. One day, I overheard two guys from the creative team whispering by the photocopy machine. "Ah, that Nkem," one said. "Fine girl, oh, but she no go ever marry. Which man fit control that kind woman?" I wish I had spoken up that day. Instead, I stayed quiet the same way society wanted me to. But Nkem, she never cared. She walked with confidence, Ankara skirts hugging her hips, white blouses tucked neatly, perfume leaving trails of orange blossom wherever she went. She laughed loudly. She ate suya with her hands. She didn't apologize for existing. Yet, behind all that boldness, I sometimes saw something else in her eyes, a kind of loneliness. It was around December when she met Tosin, a software engineer with dimples and quiet charm. He was the kind of man who listened before he spoke, rare in Lagos. They met at a mutual friend's birthday at a rooftop bar in Victoria Island. Nkem told me about it the next day, grinning ear to ear. "Amara," she said, "this one's different. He doesn't try to silence me." For a while, I believed her. They looked happy: weekend brunches at Cafe Neo, late night walks along Freedom Way, selfies with matching sunglasses. But it didn't take long for things to change. A few months in, Tosin began to complain that she talked too much online. He didn't like that she posted about gender inequality, or that she corrected people in public. At first, he said it gently, "Babe, maybe just ignore these comments." Then it became sharper. Why can't you just be soft like other girls? Nkem would laugh it off, but I saw the hurt in her. Each time he shushed her, a small piece of her voice dimmed, until one evening, at a dinner party, it finally broke her. It was Tosin's birthday. We were at this fancy restaurant in Ikoyi, dim lights, smooth jazz. Everyone dressed like they were auditioning for a lifestyle magazine. In the middle of the meal, one of Tosin's friends made a joke about women being bad drivers. Everyone laughed except Nkem. She calmly said, "That joke stopped being funny in 2005. The guy looked offended. Tosin sighed loudly and said, "Babe, must you always correct people? You're embarrassing me." The table went quiet. Nkem froze. Then, with her chin lifted, she said, "I'm not embarrassing you. I'm defending myself." And she stood up in her elegant wine-colored gown, heels clicking on the marble floor, and walked out. I followed her to the parking lot, found her sitting on the curb, tears streaking her makeup. She whispered, "Amara, I'm tired of apologizing for being myself." I hugged her, but I didn't know what to say. A few weeks later, Nkem quit her job. People said she'd been fired, but she told me she left because she was suffocating. She started a podcast called The Loud Woman. At first, it was just her, in her small apartment in Sruler, recording voice notes about everyday experiences, being underestimated at work, being told to smile more, being judged for ambition. Slowly, people started listening. Women called in with their stories. Nurses, teachers, students, even market women. They spoke about all the times they'd been told to shrink. Within a year, The Loud Woman became one of Nigeria's top trending podcasts. Sponsors came knocking. TV stations invited her. The same people who once mocked her now quoted her words. But Nkem remained the same bold, clear, honest. One day, she invited me to her studio. It was just a small room filled with books, sound equipment, and sticky notes that said things like "Your voice matters." She looked at me and said, "Amara, do you know the biggest lie we tell girls in this country? That silence is feminine." That night, as we recorded an episode together, she asked me to tell my own story about how I had always been the quiet one. By the end of the session, I felt something open in me. I realized that silence isn't peace, it's surrender. Months later, Tosin came back. He had seen her billboard on 3rd Mainland Bridge, advertising her new talk show. He sent her a long message full of apologies and nostalgia. She read it, smiled faintly, and deleted it. "I don't hate him," she told me. "He just taught me the difference between love and approval." And with that, she moved on stronger, freer, louder than ever. Now, whenever I walk through the city and hear a woman speaking up in a meeting, on a bus, at a protest, I smile, because I know Nkem's voice is echoing somewhere behind it. Her story taught me something Lagos never will. Silence doesn't make you respectable. It makes you invisible. So I started speaking to at work, online, even in my church group. And the funny thing? The more I spoke, the more I was heard. Nkem didn't just change her life, she changed mine. If you ever walk through Sruler on a Saturday evening and hear laughter from an open window, that's probably Nkem recording another episode. She still speaks too loudly, her neighbors still complain, but her voice has become the drumbeat of a generation. And me? I've learned that in a world that keeps telling women to hush, sometimes the loudest thing you can do is simply tell the truth. Every legend carries a spark, and maybe your voice is the next one the world needs to hear. If this story touched you, don't let it fade with the ashes. Like this video, share your thoughts below, and Subscribe to Legend by the Fire African Folktale for more African folk tales that live, breathe, and burn with truth.